Welcome to a special episode of That Kingsville podcast. I'm your host, Dave. With me, as always, Kevin Black.
He was missing his table.
Yeah, I know. We get hard surface to work off. Steve Ianson down there.
Sucking more tonight.
We've got... yeah, you get the full view of us this time.
Yeah.
Right. We've got
Door black.
We've got special guests with us tonight. Because there was some pretty controversial things that happened. So we decided that we'd invite some of the students from the local schools. As we all know, there was an announcement about school naming. So with us tonight, we've got Paige Faubert, Kinsey Kendrick, and Julia McInnis, representing Kingsville Public School, Kingsville High School, and Jack Minor. So thank you, ladies, for joining us on That Kingsville podcast tonight. So, like I said, there's been an announcement. And you ladies will be in attendance of the new, as it was recently announced, the naming of Erie Migration Academy. So thanks for coming on the show to discuss, I guess, your points and your insights. So, Paige, I'll start with you. You go to Kingsville Public School in town. What are your thoughts about having to start your grade 8 student at Kingsville Public? So next year, grade 9 in September. What are your thoughts about the new opportunity to start at a brand new school?
I think it'll be a good opportunity for everybody. It was been planned for a while. Like, I was supposed to be the first grade 6, then the first grade 8, then the first grade 9.
Time did go by quickly.
Yeah. But I think it'll be like a good opportunity for everyone. It'll definitely be a big change with obviously the new location, but everybody's going to a new school. But because I'm on the high school side, it'll still be the same group of students because everybody goes to KDHS.
Kinsey?
All right. I'm personally not a fan of going to the new school just because I'm in grade 11, so I'm only going to be going there for 1 year. And when I would look back at my high school in the future, I'm going to have to say that I went to KDHS, but I graduated from EMA. So that's just going to be, it's going to be weird to have 2 different schools going to. And I don't know how I feel about having everyone in the same building. I think it would be scary for little kids being around high schoolers. But yeah, that's everything.
Julie, what do you think?
Yeah, I really agree with both of them for it being like a good opportunity. But like, I've also been really excited to go to Kingsville. So I think it's a little disappointing, but I think it's a good thing that will bring good changes to a lot of people.
And what grade are you in again?
8.
Grade
so I'll be
as
going
well.
to the high school side.
Okay. What you know what, we'll get into the naming committee, and then we'll kind of back up and talk about, you know, what you're excited about at the new school, because I do think that we kind of need to
100%
get into the naming first, and then we'll get into, you know, the school and how awesome it's going to. It's new school is still pretty exciting. Mm-hmm. So and since you have the mic, Julie, maybe we'll start with you. Why did you want to be part of the naming committee?
Well, I really wanted to make a difference with the name. And I know a lot of people at my school had like an opinion and how they wanted it. So I thought, well, I got a lot of opinions from other people and kind of got them all into one at the committee.
What that process look like for you at your school, like talking to your friends, like how did you go about getting some of those ideas?
Well, I'm on the basketball team right now, so I've talked to a lot of those girls.
Did you talk to your classmates in other areas too to kind of feel out what they were thinking?
Yeah, we also we have a student council at our school, so a lot of us talked in there, like in those meetings. And then the 2 representatives from my class, we've also talked to our class and gotten ideas from them.
So Kinsey at the high school, much kind of a similar kind of arrangement, however, wide range of ages and different places in life. So why at your, again, in grade 11 for 1 year, what compelled you?
Well, I'm already very involved in school. Like, I'm on the student council. I'm the deputy prime minister, and I just take part in a lot of activities around the school and try to be really involved in the school. So that I thought it was important that I could help our school show or like share our opinion over what we wanted in the name. And even though I'm in grade 11, I just thought it was important that like I get a chance to share like what people in my grades feel, even though we're only going to be there for a year. That's pretty much it.
Paige, again, same question.
I thought it would be like, I enjoy doing extracurriculars like that. I'm also on like our parent council. And I enjoyed like seeing how things work around the school and how decisions are made. So I figured it would be similar in the committee. And like I figured it would be a learning opportunity because you learn to talk to different people and like take in different opinions and stuff.
So going into the process, going into the first meeting, what were you thinking? What might happen? How might this play out? And what were your hopes on how it might play out?
I mean, I didn't really have any idea what was going to happen when we hit.
It's the first time you did it, right? You're like,
no idea what was going to happen. Like, I guess I thought that like we would say names and like kind of pick one, which was similar to what we did. Did take longer than I thought it would, though. Yeah.
So, with that, when you started in the committee, was there a good explanation to kind of introduce you to what this process was? Did they clearly kind of explain what it was, what your intent was, how you were supposed to help contribute, and did you understand kind of, hey, maybe this is how we can contribute?
Yeah, I feel like when we first got there, they explained like everything we had to go through. They explained like the whole process that was going to happen, And what were the other questions? Sorry.
No, and when they explained it, did you understand, hey, this is how I'm going to contribute to this committee and this is what I'm supposed to do in this voluntary role?
Yeah, when they explained it, they kind of suggested that the students would like reach out and get information from their school and classmates and peers. So that's what I did to contribute to the committee. And that I kind of understood that from the beginning, that my role was to get the opinions of not just myself, but like the majority of my school.
Your peer group and anybody that you deal with. So what was it like at Jack Minor?
It was mostly the same thing. We just had like a lot of like, I talked to a lot of different people to get their opinions, like what Kinsey says, not just like mine, and then also from other community members.
So that when you were thinking about when the committee asked you for certain information, was there anything that you maybe didn't quite understand, or talk to your friends, talk to people that get some good ideas, and then bring them back? Right.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's pretty understandable.
Yeah. Did you have like a list of 50 names or something like that? Who had the highest list? Like, did you any names you collect? Like 45?
So
23. That's pretty good.
I did not have that many.
Not that many. No.
Yeah, we just had like a few that have been brought up, but then, yeah.
So quite a few.
Yeah.
So and no secret again for everyone listening and watching at home, Steve, you were also a part of the committee as well. So the first onset of your committee Steve now, right? No more committee Dave, right? I used to be on committees and they rub it in my face all the time. But the initial meeting when the committee started, anything kind of jump off the page at you at first about how they wanted to handle this one?
I think some of us certainly felt a little bit handcuffed. You come in with a real open mind. Okay, how are we going to bring all these communities, all these students together under one building, under one name? And then gradually it's sort of, you're given a list of, okay, but it can't be this, it can't be this, it can't be this, it can't be that. So there, you all of a sudden sort of feel handcuffed or very limited in what you can do.
But a process nonetheless was explained.
Yes.
And this is how
we want to sort of like half a process.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there.
So, okay, so I guess if I can, my question to the ladies is what they did do is they kept the students together in one discussion. I think that was probably very effective. But did it disappoint you, or do you think it was the right way to do it rather than maybe mixing you in with the teachers and administrators and members of the general public?
Yeah. We actually chose to sit together because, I first sat down and then I had the other student representative from KDHS sit with me. And then we invited the
I know her.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off.
I got to interrupt really quickly. We did ask a representative from Harrow to attend tonight, but again, in our hasty scheduling, they weren't available.
She didn't actually sit on the naming committee,
right?
But it's a KDHS student from the community of Harrow.
From Harrow.
Yes.
So again, we're sorry we couldn't have that insight as well, but carry on, Kinsey.
Yes. So we actually just invited the other students to sit with us during the meeting because we thought that we just wanted to share our ideas like from all the students' perspectives and kind of see like what we had in similar, what we were all thinking. And then we ended up inviting, at the second meeting, we ended up inviting all the other students back to sit with us so we could just kind of keep our ideas to ourselves and not try to get influenced by other people.
Oh,
That's interesting. So so walk us through, and Paige, maybe you can take this one. Walk us through what the meeting looked like. Like when you mentioned that you decided to all sit together. What happened in a meeting for the people that weren't there? How did the conversations kind of go? And then because there was two, so walk us through the first meeting.
So the first meeting, we were all like put into these small groups. It was just kind of like the groups we chose in the first meeting. And we were asked to come up with, I think it was 1 or 2 names per like each group. So all of like the students discussed which names they would have chosen or would have liked to be chosen. And then after that, once everybody had decided their names, like we all told our names and we had put them on a list and we had to get it down to, I think it was 10. So everybody was like going back and forth from like which ones we like, which ones we don't like at all.
Were there any parameters that you can remember being told that the name had to have or had to not have?
We were kind of told that the name had to have academy at the end of it. And that it could only be one name for the 2 schools.
so yeah, not separating the difference between high school and elementary school. Yeah, reasonable request, but there were also some other suggestions that were provided about the naming kind of convention and whatnot. Kinsey, there's a couple of different lists that were circulating around on social media. Can you kind of explain what those lists were?
Well, there was the list that the board provided us, which included some names that were mostly nature-based. They included like different animals or different locations such as Pigeon Bay. And there was a list.
Can I stop you there?
Yes.
Did you know what Pigeon Bay was before that day?
No, we had to have one of the runners of the meeting explain what it was. Same with a lot of the other suggestions. Like they had to explain what harrier was because we just weren't aware of what that is. It's a bird, by the way.
It is a bird. Yeah.
I'd say it's you. It wasn't just the students that needed the explanation.
I thought it was a jet.
It's a jet. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
No, that's okay. What was the other part? Sorry.
Just whether or not those suggestion lists and what their content was. Kind of explaining what was provided to you on that first initial meeting.
So they gave like a backstory of Kingsville to get like some history, and they provided some examples of important people from Kingsville. So they included like Jack Miner and a girl who wrote a book, I think. Sorry, do you?
Margaret Atwood was mentioned, yes.
I was going to...
For her connections, yes.
I was going to assume Margaret Atwood being the famous author that, resides on Pelee Island through the summer, but,
Yep.
Yeah. They just provided like a list of some background so that it would hopefully spark some ideas for different creative names in our school.
So, Julia, when you're getting together with these groups and whatnot, you were paired with other students, as you've explained. You came up with a list of suggestions, and then you had to make a master list.
Yeah.
So, through that process, were the names that your group kind of figured out or suggested, how did you present that to the rest of the bigger group?
Well, when we presented them, we said why we liked them and like the background behind them. Like I'm pretty sure our top one from the student representatives was Kingsville District Academy, which then went on to the top 2 in the next meeting.
Okay, we'll get there. So through that first meeting, you've collected that list. Then what happened once this list was created from, I'm assuming, the entire group of all constituents? So what happened when that list was finalized?
Well, then at the next meeting, so
there wasn't anything at that. You just created the list and that was it and walked away?
Yeah, we had about 8 to 10.
8 to 10.
It was sent away to be vetted.
Okay, so that was the end of the first meeting.
Yes.
So, okay. vetting. Sorry, I'm going to reference Steve as well because he was there. If we're not remembering all the details, and again, not that you're not answering the question. So the vetting list went off, and then there was another meeting to be scheduled. Was there any information that was provided or asked of you?
First, before were any names thrown out from the vetting process?
I don't believe so. There was, one of the parameters at the start was we're encouraged to not necessarily name the school after an individual, because at the end of the day, we all have not demons, so to speak, but you don't know. You don't know the exact details of people's past. 10 years from now, something could come out and it changes things. So we were encouraged not to use real people names. Okay. So the list was provided, I think was the same list that came back the second meeting.
Okay. So any other information that was asked of you in preparation for the next meeting? No? Go ahead.
They also added, after the end of the first meeting, that if we came up with any other suggestions, we could send them to them before, I believe it was the Friday before Christmas break started.
Okay.
So I know at my school, Miss Nurse, who is also part of the committee, I was in one of her classes, so we discussed more name options that we would like. And I think we sent some in, but I'm not sure if they got added to the list or not.
Okay. Paige, anything happen at KPS? No, just after the meeting. Anything? No. There we go. All right. So, anything else momentous that I'm maybe glazing over because I wasn't a part of the process? So this is when everything kind of started to fire up, right? This list, like I said earlier, it started on social media, and some of the information that the school board had provided, was posted, and it started the whole conversation. We started talking about it.
Yeah, this is actually when we started discussing it on the podcast.
On the show. Right? Yeah, that Kingsville podcast, like and subscribe. Thank you. It's shameless. Doesn't mean anything. So meeting 2 was to be scheduled. Okay. Was there any preface of what meeting 2 was supposed to do or achieve before you got there?
I don't think they really specified what we were going to be doing, but I kind of had the idea that this was the meeting where we would be narrowing it down to the 2 names that would be sent. So I think that's all I knew about the second meeting. I didn't really know what we were going to be doing at it.
Between meetings 1 and 2, did anybody from the school board visit your schools to speak with any specific focus groups?
Yeah. Before the second meeting, there was, from my knowledge, there was a focus group at each school. So that would be Harrow, KDHS, Jack Minor, and KPS. So I ended up being in my class focus group. And I forget who came, but he just kind of listed all of their names and asked for our opinions, what we liked about them, what we didn't like, if we thought that it would have been okay for that to be a school name.
Do you remember any of that conversation? It was a while ago, I know, and school's important, right? No, I don't expect you.
Say our opinions, whatever we want. He would write down a few things, and every once in a while he would kind of repeat what we said. It did kind of feel like he was changing some of our ideas, but for the most part, it felt like we were being heard. But
okay.
Yeah, I was just going to ask a leading question.
You got it. No, not today, Steve. Not today.
Did they feel? I want to know if they felt that they were being swayed.
Fair enough.
In those meetings, or did you feel? You did mention obviously that you felt like you were being heard, which is the most important thing. But did you feel there was an element there that they were trying to sway you in certain directions or sway you to eliminate certain ideas?
Yeah, it did feel like that. We would share our opinions on certain names, and for those names, he would give more opinions against our thoughts. When he first came in, he said he was just here to hear our thoughts. But as we started talking about them, when he would repeat our thoughts, it seemed that he would sway them slightly in a different direction.
A little bit of a modifier then, right? So,
what names did it seem like he is? Do we know who it was? It sounds like he. Can we say who?
It was Scott Scantlebury.
Okay.
Well, Scott did all the. Okay.
So when
does that ring a bell? Scott Scantlebury?
Yeah. Okay. So when Mr. Scantlebury was talking about it, was there reference did it feel like he was trying to reference towards specific themes?
I'll give an example here. So when he brought up the two names that had the word lake in them, our class was very against it. But he kept like pushing back, like, but the town's by the lake. And it's like we were like a town based around the lake, and he kept like pushing back to those names when we were trying to move on from them.
Kinsey, did this happen at the high school as well? I know it's a much different demographic than an elementary school.
I wasn't part of the, what's it called? Sorry, focus group.
Groups.
Because I was told that I wasn't able to be part of it for some reason. But I did speak to many of the high schoolers that were part of it. And they also said that he was pushing towards Lakeview and Lakeside Academy. And when they would say their opinion on something, he would kind of direct them back to what he not necessarily wanted to hear, but was more in favor of.
So, Julia, at Jack Minor, was it in a classroom or was it in a gymnasium? Was it a smaller groups? And you know, what did it look like for you?
Well, he went to one of the grade 8 classes. The principal asked me to go to it, but I had a different presentation in my own classroom, so I was not able to attend. But a lot of people felt that their ideas were like dismissed and like what they were saying.
Did your classmates know that you were all a part of the committee, or were they were all aware that? Yeah. Oh, your classmates didn't know that you were a part of the committee? No. Well, gee, they found out after that, then, right? Okay. All right. So your classmates knew as well.
Only a few.
Yeah. No, you just whoever was paying attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did anyone, from your opinion and your feedback that you got, did you hear anything that happened at that meeting?
No, nothing special.
Nothing special.
Mostly just the same stuff they were mentioning.
All right. So
then meeting number 2.
meeting number 2, right? We start meeting number 2, and you already stated that it's the intent that you felt was weeding the list down. So how did meeting number 2 start?
It started off that they were explaining that we would bring it down to 2 names, and then they would bring it to the board, and the board would either pick one of the 2 names or they would come back to the committee, and we would have to think of more names to bring back.
Any point in time there was any explanation of any other ways names could enter the fray? Any other discussion around?
No, nothing. Just
Nothing
the
like
2.
that?
Just the top 2 that we came up with.
Gotcha. So how did that process start to weed that list down? Did you break up in groups again? How did that go?
Yeah, the groups were different for the adults, but then all the student representatives stayed together. And then we each brought up one, and then individually we all ranked them 1 to 6. And then they added the numbers, and whichever ones had the least amount for numbers. So if 4 of them had 1 and then the other one had 2, they would stay because they would be the top 2. Yeah. Stay.
Reverse ranking. Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Make it complicated.
Yeah.
Oh,
The maths took a while.
I was just going to say,
Yeah.
I don't, you got a calculator?
Well, they're dealing with the school board, so
Make it
Kevin.
so maths.
Kevin.
Well, it's smart people. So teach math.
Maths.
It's not a lesson today. So when your groups, again, the student groups that you collected all those names, do you remember what some of those ones on your little smaller list before the bigger group got together? What were some of the ones that the students were selecting?
At the first meeting or the second meeting?
So to weed this down, right?
Yes.
You're we've already gone through the first round. Hey, we're getting down to brass tacks. It's going to get named one of these names.
Yeah. So we started out with 10 names. I know Greater Kingsville District Academy was one of the options. Do you want me to list all of them?
If you have them, that would be.
I don't have all of them, but
Go by memory. If you make a mistake, it's okay.
Okay.
We're getting the idea.
Okay. So one was Greater Kingsville District Academy. There was Lakeside Academy, Lakeview Academy.
Again, academy was a prerequisite,
Yes.
right? So this is why every name. Now, did any of you feel that because it was required at that first meeting that there was any opportunity to name it school or some other name? Or did you just say, hey, we were told it had to be academy, we're rolling with academy?
Well, at the first we were told academy, and then at the start of the second, they then said that it could be school, but most of people district school.
District school?
Yeah. But most people didn't vote on school. I think for we had 8 people for the student representatives. I think it was 2 to 6. 2 wanted school and 6 wanted academy. Oh, maybe. Yeah, 4 and 4. That's my bad. 4 and 4.
So at the start, when we were given the prerequisite start of the first meeting, we were told it had to be an academy. That was the board's policy. Any new school of this level is an academy. And then we were told by the committee chair, our trustee, that no, it could be school. And we said, no, we were told it was academy. And she said, who told you that? And we all said, Scott did.
Yeah.
So there was
some confusion.
There was. And
you've workshopped
to frustration. And
right. And you've already workshopped through one meeting under the pretense that it was an academy. And then at the beginning of the second one, it's like, well, wait, scrap that. We can also chuck in district school as an option. But that's already after you've received the direction that, hey, this meeting's the selection meeting where it's going down to the top two, right? So
I can't speak for the students, but we were willing to concede academy in order to facilitate other names.
To progress. Yeah. Fair enough. So again, all your suggestions were pretty much academy based, right?
Yeah, they were.
Okay. So Paige,
what were some of those? Because we heard a couple.
I'm struggling to remember. Do you remember any?
Kingsville Migration Academy.
Oh yeah, Kingsville Migration Academy.
Okay.
There was Kingsville. I already said that one.
Kingsville District Academy.
I think South Shore or Erie Shores or something.
It was like Erie Shores Migration Academy or something.
Yeah.
Were these students selected student workshop names or
these were
because I want to focus on yours first before we get to the grand meeting, right? When everybody's is collected. Yeah. So what were the students?
The students, they told us that we'd have the option to take part of the name out. So our table mostly focused on Greater Kingsville District Academy, and we decided to take out Greater from the name, so it would just be Kingsville District Academy. And that was our top choice. And then I think most of our names included Kingsville at our table.
Okay. So from that, then they've asked, obviously, hey, can all the groups collect their were you asked to, provide 2 for the master list that was going to get weeded out? Just 1. And how many groups were there?
6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went from big old list in first meeting to a list of 10 or 12 at the end of that meeting. And then there were some community suggestions that may have been submitted that did you notice if any of those suggestions made it back at the second? No, nada, zip that you noticed. Again, we aren't aware, right? We weren't present for everything, but hey, at the second meeting, you've all selected, and then, it's down to 6, right? It's like The Voice or, America's Got Talent. So you got to vote it down. So when it comes to 6, then what did the group look like? So what happened when they said, here's the list of 6?
Yeah. Once they gave us the list of 6, we were just kind of given all a sticky note and to put 1 what our favorite one was, and then 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. There was no discussion about any of the names beforehand.
No explanation, no rationale, no preamble about, hey, this one means this, nothing, nope. Just words on a board.
There was also barely any mention of what happened in the focus groups either. So, the opinions from the students weren't really shared beforehand. And then we kind of gave all the sticky notes in and they counted the votes. And the 2 with the highest votes basically got it.
In those 6 options, was Erie Migration Academy any of them?
No.
Was Erie the first word of any of them?
No, I don't think so.
Migration.
The only one with migration was Kingsville Migration. But someone had changed migration to Lakeview, and it was immediately dropped.
So somebody pulled an audible, said, hey, no, Kingsville, Lakeview Academy, and then it was stricken from the record. So it was 5 names.
No Kingsville, just Lakeview.
Oh, just Lakeview Migration Academy.
Yep.
So then it was, chopped off. So then you had 5 names. But anyway, regardless. Yeah. So, all right. What were the top 2 names that got selected?
Greater Kingsville Academy and Kingsville District Academy.
All right. So Greater Kingsville Academy and Kingsville District Academy.
And Kingsville District Academy was the student's choice.
Yes.
Out of all 6 groups.
Yes.
All right. So, Kinsey, when these 2 names got selected, was there any wrap-up? Was there any explanation about what the next stage of the process was to the group?
All they really indicated was that these names would be going to the board the following week on the Tuesday that just happened. And they just said that these names would be sent to the board and then they would be either decided on or sent back to us. They didn't really indicate what else was going to happen.
Decided on or sent back. And everybody was happy with that, to the best of your recollection.
Yeah.
So, you're okay with that. You're okay with that. You're okay with that. All right. Right. You know, you fulfilled your voluntary role. Yeah. It was a long process. You know, they'll take it. What, it was a couple of hour meetings each time?
About an hour and a half.
Hour and a half. So you got a good
No,
solid.
it was a 6:30, solid 6:30 finish.
Where were they located?
The meetings?
Yeah.
We had them in the library at KDHS.
KDHS library.
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, you know, fairly local, you know, Harrow, obviously, they got to drive into town and whatnot. So, okay. At that point, go ahead.
So after the meeting, and I know the two of you didn't even tell your friends you were on the committee.
They know now if they watch
They
that
know now.
podcast. Like and subscribe.
Did you go back and tell your friends what the names were?
Yeah, I did for sure because all of my friends were very interested in the topic. So every time we would make a decision at the meetings, I would just update them. And then I would like talk to people in my classes about like what happened and what the new name choice was.
Any feedback?
I know after we had the first meeting and they released the list of 8 names, a lot of people they had some comments about some of the names, but in majority they liked most of them. And then after the second meeting, majority of the people, or almost all of the people I talked to, really liked the top 2 suggestions.
Jack Miner, I'm sorry. You know, we have to put aside the legacy of the bird guy, right? You know, hey, maybe we don't. Maybe we might store some students there. Is that what you're alluding to, Kevin? Maybe. So yeah, you know, any feelings about anyone out at Jack Miner as, oh, you know, we were Jaguars and, you know, it's the Jack Miner legacy going away. But hey, you know what? It's representative of us.
Yeah, most people didn't mind that Jack Miner wasn't represented in the name. But I talked to a lot of grade 8s and they were already ready to go to Kingsville High School. Mm-hmm. So then but then Kingsville District Academy wasn't much different. So they were perfectly fine with that one.
Sure.
Too.
Right. Given the circumstances, that academy was the school board's required naming.
And did you tell your friends it was going to be one of those two options?
Yeah, I explained to them how they were supposed to pick pick one of the 2, and then if they didn't like either, bring them back.
Paige, and what was it like at KPS? Same.
Yeah, I did it. I did tell a few people like the few final names, but like lots of people found out like about them probably online and stuff. And they were liked around. They were liked by a lot of people. And I did explain to a few people how they either picked one or they sent it back and we did it again.
Boy, oh boy. So Tuesday comes around and yeah. What happened on Tuesday, Paige?
So on Tuesday was the board meeting of when they were supposed to pick the final name.
And as we've covered, it was a matter of they were going to select one of the 2 names, and if there was any changes, it was going to come back to committee for discussion. As explained, Steve, I'm looking at you for vetting. Like, to the best of your recollection, this is the way she went down?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
And I should know this. The school board has the meetings have an audience again, right? There's a gallery.
Yes. I know there were some Kingsville representatives in the audience.
Did any of you go and sit through? I don't blame you. They're really boring
meeting.
It was during the school day too.
It was in the evening.
It was yeah.
But again, 3.5 hours, you know,
you wouldn't have made it.
Yeah, I know. Julia and I both watched the live stream of it and like the YouTube videos of it. Did you watch it?
Almost did,
yeah.
Finished it.
Almost. Yeah. Oh, okay. I was going to say almost watched it or almost got through it. There's a lot.
I have to admit, I did skip majority of it until it got to the part that I was interested in.
About an hour and 50 minutes in was when she got real relevant to the committee.
But yeah,
I was a reporter and I did it too, but my skipping was just napping.
So
quick little
power naps. So Kinsey, when the meeting transpired, what happened?
So the first thing I noticed when I watched it was the 2 name suggestions were not even mentioned. Neither were the top 8 suggestions that our committee had come up with. one of the trustees had just skipped to one of her own name suggestions.
Julia Burgess, again, our elected school board trustee.
Yes.
Right? So, yeah, she was introducing this name.
Yes. Yeah, she introduced the name Erie Migration Academy. And a thing I noticed when she said it is that the student representatives on the naming committee, which would be us and more, were very disappointed when migration left the list, which we never discussed or ever said.
Kingsville.
Yeah.
Migration.
Oh, so migration wasn't a part of the list of 8 that you presented at the end.
It wasn't one of our top options. Migration might have been in the name, but Erie Migration was definitely not an option.
Right.
And I know none of us 3 or the other KDHS student representative spoke up about being sad about migration leaving.
Okay. So again, just to recap, it was Kingsville District Academy or Greater Kingsville Academy.
Yes.
Right. And we were cool with that.
Yes.
And we were like, that's that. We're good.
That's what we
A+.
wanted.
All right. So Julia, you got through some of the video too. You watched it.
Yeah.
As Trustee Burgess was presenting this new information, what were some of the things that you were hearing and feeling as this explanation was happening at the meeting?
I thought that most, because what she said, the 2 names did not come up. I know student chair Colin Pine did bring up Kingsville District Academy, but Greater Kingsville District or Greater Kingsville Academy was never spoken once of. And then what was the other part?
How'd you feel when you were watching it?
Mostly, I felt like our ideas were dismissed and looked over, and that our opinions didn't really matter in the point.
Was it anger? Was it sadness? I mean, I know what it was like in our house.
Yeah.
And I won't go into that because I want to know who were you watching with, and tell us about the reactions.
I was just watching by myself.
Okay.
It wasn't like a Super Bowl party at the house, right?
No.
Well, no. Watching with your parents or siblings or even, some of your peers. So, okay.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
But I was pretty disappointed and a little mad about what happened at the meeting.
I know when I watched it, I was also disappointed. I was just disappointed in the way that everything went down and disappointed that all of the work that the committee had was discarded as soon as her name was suggested. So that was majority of my feelings were just disappointed in all of the work that we put in.
Yeah, being students in school, your time, you got your part-time job or whatever, right? So, okay. Paige.
I was disappointed, but I also was annoyed how it was not mentioned how the trustee could bring forward the 2 names or scrap everything and bring forward her own or their own.
At your meetings.
Yeah.
Right. So she, and again, this is public record. There's a video and if I'm misremembering the video, I apologize, but it was lengthy and whatnot. But there was a stipulation that was presented as a part of their procedure. Steve, is that the right word?
It's part of the actual naming. So the board has a facility and new school naming policy.
Thank you.
The policy does specifically spell out that that they can consider names from the community naming committee, or the trustees can present their own ideas. It is specifically spelled out there.
Paige, who was the chair of your committee?
It was Julia Burgess and there's someone else. But
Trustee McKinley.
And Trustee McKinley. Ever explain that information to you during any of the process? No. So kind of hitting you.
Scott did mention at the start, at the end of the day, that the board could reject any suggestions and just choose a name on their own. Yes.
So, it was, but again, early on, you were focused on what you were focused on as asked in meetings. Okay. So, when the new name was presented, initially, not the selection that you had, through the progress of how their procedure went, any feelings of, anger, frustration, watching, the video? You made it through some of it, right? You saw some of it.
I guess I was just, annoyed and disappointed that they asked everybody to come on the 2 committees for an hour and a half. just to scrap everything and almost manipulate some of the opinions that some people had in the committees.
So when they finally voted as the board and it passed with a 6-2 vote, and Steve, which 2 members voted against? I apologize.
Armstrong
and Quinn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So okay, passed. Hey everyone, it's Erie Migration Academy, right? So going back to school on Wednesday, right? It came out really quickly after that decision was made. What did you feel about the new name?
Before we get there,
you're the professional.
I do want to know, did any because you went back and told your friends that it was going to be Kingsville District Academy or Greater Kingsville Academy, did any of your friends ask you like why what you said was wrong?
Sorry. None of my friends like asked why what we suggested was wrong. Like,
because you had told them already
Yeah.
that it was going to be one of these 2 options, right?
yeah, I think majority were just confused on like what happened between the 2 names being suggested and the new name being chosen, and they were just like confused on like where the new name had came from. But not many asked.
No one blamed you.
Yeah, no one blamed me.
Well, at the end of the day, too, it was for consideration. It wasn't, set in stone that it was going to be one of these 2. So,
right. But as a result of the committee's process and selection, weaning down of the numbers or names, this is what the committee had presented. So when the name came out and you went to school that next day, right? Erie Migration Academy. What was this the talk around the lockers?
I know in my school, many people were very disappointed at the name because I know a lot of people at my school wanted Kingsville, but even they just thought the name sounded like silly or like they wouldn't want to go play sports and have to tell people that they're from Erie Migration.
Sports.
Ladies
and gentlemen, sports. Watch the episode beforehand. That'll come up. I'm sorry.
Inside jokes.
Also, I believe at the meeting, Julia Burgess suggested a mascot idea of a dragonfly, which I'm not sure if that was, but that was brought up around the school, and many people were not in favor of that mascot because it's not very intimidating, especially again when sports.
So, can I just ask a question? Yeah. We know what a jaguar is, right? Right. We know what a cobra is. We know what a cavalier is, right? Thank you. So
I know what a dragonfly is, but it's not very intimidating.
I do too. There's those
flutters on the corner.
Those athletic dragonflies and those very intimidating. So Jack Miner, right? You know, we're saying goodbye to the Jack Miner moniker, right? We're moving on from good old Jack, and now we're into Erie Migration Academy. Anything from your class and your school?
Mostly people were just disappointed on the name, and a lot of people were asking me how Erie and migration like correspond with each other, which I didn't know how to answer because I'm on the same page with them. I don't get how they correspond with each other.
Well, in the board meeting, Trustee Burgess did present a pretty lengthy explanation as to how those names were arrived at, and there was a repetitive comment that these words, Erie, Migration, and Academy, were very heavily involved in your naming process, and those names kept coming up and arriving. Again, I don't expect you to recite the whole list. In that last list of 6, how many of those had Erie and Migration?
Maybe like 2.
Right, but not...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, 1.
But not together.
Not
right,
together.
which was clearly disclosed again in that meeting, right? They were not. It was not ever
None
suggested.
Of those, 6 options had Erie.
No.
So, yeah. So and then what other kind of feedback? Friends. Now, did they know that you were a part of the committee? Or are you still keeping that a secret? Because everybody's
maybe
gonna know.
a secret now.
That would be the time you can put a secret.
Just the people that I like normally talk to knew about it because I would like text them over like we have a basketball group chat.
Sure.
And I ask people for their opinions on everything.
Yeah. So being involved in sports, I take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Erie Migration Academy. What would your preferred mascot be with with that, or is that something that you think that sounds good to represent a sports team and or a school?
No. Just no.
Be like a bug. Well, there are some very intimidating bugs, right? Like I don't know.
That's so
Yellow jacket.
Wasp, yes. Wasp, yeah, exactly, right? Like Georgia.
fish flies. Those are scary.
So so you've gone back, you've told your friends, and kind of the consensus is dislike.
Yeah.
Fair to say. So now we're a few days on. Has I know a lot of times, and not just with students, this happens with across the population. People just wait you out because generally after a couple of days, you're not as angry as you were when you first heard.
Mm-hmm.
Has it died down at the schools at all?
I know at my school there might be a walkout planned for tomorrow at 11:45 a.m.
So we're probably going to go later. Some of this may or may not have happened by the time this goes to press, unless Gary, you're pulling an all-nighter and editing this, which I don't expect you to.
Okay.
That looks like no.
Yeah. How much money you got? No, kidding. So yeah, there may or may not be a planned walkout.
There may or may not be a planned walkout. So I know a lot of people at our school feel very passionately about the name, and a lot of people in the community as well. And they have decided that they want to show their support they want to show how they feel about the name change.
Yeah, their concern and frustration towards it. What do you think an event like that can do with regards to the school board's decision? Because, as we discussed earlier, your impression was that if there was any other choices for names, it was coming back to you.
Yeah.
So what do you think can happen?
Well, my hope is that the school board will see this and see how concerned everybody is and how passionately they feel about it. And they'll hopefully decide to either recall the vote and either give the name back to the committee and allow them to come up with more suggestions, or just retake a vote and give the full information.
It's called a motion to reconsider.
Motion to reconsider.
So this is an actual thing that can happen. There can be a motion. Did you write that down? Those are good notes if you had motion to reconsider on it. I'm going to go with that. Way to go, Julia.
So, and for a motion to reconsider to be able to be brought forward, it needs to be 2/3 of the majority to vote in favor of reconsidering the motion.
Yeah, there's stipulations. It's not just like, hey, we saw, a bunch of people walking around on the street and we're like, maybe we should, go back, choose this again. There's a process.
Yes. I'd just like to say that the student trustee who was at the meeting has reached out to me and just wanted to clarify how I felt, because I'm also on student senate with him, about the name, the decision, and just the whole process of what happened. So I just explained my perspective on the issue. And he said that after he meets with me, hopefully soon, I think tomorrow, but this is going to be released later.
Hey, it'll have happened if it does.
He said after he meets with me, he'll look more into it and then hopefully convince more trustees to do the motion to reconsider.
Paige, how's the sentiment at KPS? Are the students still? How's the sentiment? Are the students still upset?
On Wednesday when I got there, I heard so many people yelling, talking. And the people that I had told that I'd on had come up to me as is this true? Is this rumors? What is happening?
Because I know you were involved in the process. Now it's, hey.
Not everyone knew yet.
Well, boy, oh boy.
They only found
very
it
incognito. Good for you.
Yeah. Laying on it.
I didn't want people's biased opinions.
Sure. Hey, that's fine.
And then today the conversation was brought up during class. So, we were in class learning. I don't even remember what we were learning about, but...
Sorry, teacher.
Civics?
Yeah. Just
civics?
Yes.
Just
Would that be appropriate? No, it was civic. We're going to... For
the role of a committee?
But it came up, and people were like, why was everything scrapped? What happened? So that's when everybody found out, and I kind of explained what happened, to the best of my knowledge then. But it was brought up multiple times throughout the day.
So, sorry, Steve, you want to? Yeah, so we know now that this process has been voted on and it's been selected by the school board. And Kinsey, you've stated what your hopes are with the possible walkout at the high school. For the two that are coming into the high school for next year, what would you hope that can happen in the next month? Because as they explained in that board meeting, they were eager to select the name so that the continued process of developing colors for the school, because that's a thing, right? You got to, right, you're blue and yellow, right? You share the same colors with the high school. It's crazy. They weren't very, it's purple and gold. I don't know who went to both of those schools either. It's crazy.
Yeah, my school is purple and gold too.
Oh, were you?
That's why you fit in so well.
Blending in. So what would you hope happens next?
Even if they don't change the name, which I would wish they do, but the board kind of does their own thing sometimes, that they do realize that they can't go rogue every time they want to. They have to listen to us sometimes.
You hope.
Yeah, hopefully.
You guys were brave to put yourselves out there for committees like this, especially, as grade 8 students. What angered you more, the name or the process, and that you felt like you weren't being listened to? Or is it just both?
I mean, I don't like the name at all, but I was more annoyed that through all the process, they just kind of forgot about it. Or not forgot about it, but just tossed it to the side and did their own thing.
And sort of agreements from the two of you?
Yeah, I'm more disappointed about the process. I think if the name Erie Migration Academy, although it wouldn't be my first choice, but if it was decided upon by the committee and sent in as a suggestion, I would have been more open to it being chosen. But since it was chosen in a way that I think was unfair, I'm just not very happy with how that happened.
So, Julia, through this whole process, because you volunteered and you were asked and you were trying to volunteer your opinion, what are your thoughts about doing this again in a different situation? Do you feel that your efforts were of value?
I think that it could have been the time could have used a little more wisely, because as they were saying, the process of how they found Erie migration wasn't my favorite.
But yeah, again, you went through the effort of going through all the meetings and going through it, and the selection that you presented was disregarded, and another direction was selected. So, would you put forth the effort? Let's say there's another.
Well, they're going to come up with the mascot.
Yes, there will be another committee for the mascot.
Why?
We're not going to talk about this.
No,
we don't influence.
Has it tainted you? Would you
do it
volunteer for it? Even not necessarily that committee, but another committee in general, or do you look at this and say, "This was not a good experience for me. I don't want to go through this again"? Or do you look at it and say, "You know what? Forget this. I'm better than this. I want to be involved. I'm not going to let this bring me down."
Yeah, if there was more committees, I would also want to do that, because I want to share my opinion in others. Because then once I get to high school, I also want to be a part of student council and have more, I don't know what it's called.
It's
trying to have influence.
Yeah.
You want to be a part of the solution and or the resolution towards problems, right? You're a problem solver.
Yeah.
Right. The unfortunate bit.
Leadership role.
Right. Leadership role. The unfortunate bit is, ladies, unfortunately, the efforts that you did, it turned out a different way than you had intended. So, is there anything else we want to discuss here before I ask one more question? Because there's just one final question. Guys, you got anything else for the ladies?
Is Kinsey gone through all her notes? I mean,
Yeah.
we kind of
That's why I'm asking. It's you guys prepared, so I want to make sure that
I don't we're here to if there's anything obviously that you want to make sure is heard, please feel free.
Because many people watch us and subscribe on that Kingsville podcast on YouTube. All right, last question. Let's say it comes back to the committee. Let's say Erie Migration Academy is their number one preference selection, and there's one other name to select, and they're going to make it a one or the other. What would you say is that name that you want to see go up against Erie Migration Academy?
I think I would stick with the choice that we made last time and still choose Kingsville District Academy.
Yeah. Julia?
Yeah, I'm the same.
Kingsville District Academy?
Yep.
Paige?
Yeah.
The KDA instead of the EMA, which I don't know if anybody's Googled that, but be careful. Don't do that. children, please don't Google that. It has, listen, and that in the naming selection in this day and age, nothing is safe. And why?
Right. You could abbreviate anything, but
This one is an actual. I just learned LOL and like all of those. I'm not technically advanced. Look at
it. You know what would help is a vetting process. It's a shame they didn't have one. Oh, wait.
And I guess that. No, and that's really valid, is that at the end of the day, this name was put forward unbeknownst. No one knew it was coming. There was no time to vet it because it was like, okay, here's my recommend. Okay, boom. Yeah. Okay. We like it. Let's do it. Boom. Done.
And
What's a vetting process?
the vetting process is a way to go fact check and make sure that the content is right or accurate. So, hey, if we're naming it about a person, right, we want to make sure that that person and the reasons why we're naming it for that person, there isn't anything that we didn't immediately understand that might not be acceptable, right?
Part of that process could be taking, what would the acronym be? And then what could that be seen as?
Or does somebody own the URL website addresses for that school name currently?
Are there copyright issues?
Right.
Anything around?
Yeah. Did anyone else, have a school that was taking that name away for any kind of reason, right? The vetting process is important. Politicians get vetted, people in power management, and whatnot. So, ladies, again, on such short notice, thanks for coming in and talking about your feelings and the impression from the students about the school name selection. So,
I do want to know, just so we can end on a potentially positive. We're talking about the name of a school, but you guys must be getting a little bit excited to get into the new building, have air conditioning.
Okay.
Let's go down. Like, what are you looking forward to most about the new school?
Like, I'm looking forward to go to high school, but that would have been like a thing anyways. But I'm like excited to have the new school, to have air conditioning, because that would be nice. 10 years later.
Yeah, listen, again, Cobras and Cavaliers, right? We were there. We know what you won't even see the upstairs of the high school, the old high school, KDHS.
It is in use a little bit. Yeah, it is now. Yeah, those June days in English class. Yeah, I remember.
Toasty. Yeah, we didn't have our teachers anyway.
How about you? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and it sounds like it might be a little bit bigger. So like, right?
We'll see on September.
Bigger, so there could be room for more opportunities, I guess.
Yeah, we start students somewhere else too, right? Jack Minor might be used again. Anyway, yeah, we'll see. We'll find out in September, as we were told. Kinsey?
Yep, I'm also excited for air conditioning. That's something I miss at high school right now, and I don't know. I'm excited to be in a new building, kind of, because I've never really switched schools ever. I've just gone from Jack Minor to Kingsville High. So I think it'll be nice to be in a new building, not like 100-plus-year-old building.
That is something, honestly, that's something we never had.
Yeah.
Right? All our schools were.
And it is interesting what she said earlier, because this has got to be the one grade that is going to take it probably the hardest.
Yeah.
This year's grade 11s.
Yeah.
I think of my son.
Yeah.
And he's in grade 7. But at the end of the day, he was going to be leaving KPS soon anyway.
Yeah.
And he's going to go into be part of the first graduating class. I guess maybe that's the real positive for you and your grade, is that you will be the first grade 12 graduating class from the new school.
Yeah, I think that's going to be like an important thing for our grade.
Sure.
I was part of a first graduating class back like way up north. If there's one thing I can warn you about, make sure that your graduation photo is stellar, because that picture never comes down.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind.
It's still there.
So
which is a shame.
So is mine in high school. I'm on the oldest graduating class.
I know they took mine down.
They took yours down, right? Steve graduated the year before me. So, Julia, what do you think? What do you think's the best thing about new school on Jasperson in Kingsville?
Well, I think it'll be good because I have a few friends that live near there, so I've already been planning to walk to the school with some of them on the first day. But then air conditioning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, it's unanimous.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what was the other part?
But just again, what's the most exciting thing other than, hey, we're going to go to high school. It's going to be all new. Like anything else that they've told you, I know that there was a kind of an event at the current high school about, hey, here's an introduction to high school, but it really doesn't apply because you won't be attending those rooms or that building.
Yeah,
so.
when we went, they were just like trying to show us the courses from when we picked them. So I'll be excited for the new building. But I also was looking forward to go to the old building where my parents went, or one of my parents went. A ton of my friends and siblings are at right now, and all the stuff I hear about it.
One thing's for sure, ladies, you're the last of your school's mascots and naming. So you're the last Jaguars, Cobras, and Cavaliers, which is something to be said as well, right? And for a lot of us in Kingsville, having been alumni and graduates, I think it'll still remain a small piece in everybody's heart and mind and whatnot. But we are all accepting that, yes, those locations and those names, they are going away. And whatever the new school ends up being named, Erie Migration Academy, it hurts a little bit. I'm sorry. Erie Migration Academy, or whatever it ends up being, if there are some efforts that do have some sway, you'll all be that together. So again, thank you very much for coming on the show, and good luck, and we'll see what happens in the coming weeks.